Boom! 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 The sound of the hammer crashing into the molten hot metal of the blade rang out across the empty floor of the smith. Boom! Once more, as she forced the enchanted steel into the desired shape and thickness, and then plunged it back into the maw of the awaiting forge. Boom! 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 Again and again, beating the now mutable ore into the form she could see in her mind. Sparks fell around her as the hammer drove into the sword over and over, willing it to take shape faster. She stole a quick glance over at the glass container on the shelf. Was it dimmer? Possibly. Boom! 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 Anxious and furious now, she beat down upon the blade over and over, sweat glistening on all her exposed skin. The heat from the forge and the weapon's own magical essence was almost unbearable. Once more she looked over at the sealed bottle on the shelf. The dancing flames within were definitely faltering now. She did not have much time left. She held the blade aloft, turning it over and over, and inspecting it from multiple angles, and once more it plunged back into the mouth of the eagerly awaiting forge. Boom! The hammer falls on the steel again, and finally falls silent. She lifts the blade for another inspection. It looks ready. She lays it back down on the anvil and fumbles around in the low light for the rest of the tools. Deftly and delicately, she begins carving and etching runes into the blade, still glowing orange from the heat of the forge. Suddenly, a small voice cries out in pain, and the lights in the smithy falter. The forge itself sputters and flickers. She looks up at the caged ember on the shelf as it too sputters and flickers, and just barely clings to life. No time! She grabs the blade, the heat scalding her even through her protective clothing, and slides it into the awaiting water bath. Steam erupts from the bath, along with a cacophonous hiss that both fill the smithy. She coughs and chokes from the heat of the steam, but once it settles, she pulls the blade from the bath. It has cracked! Shit! There is a long, jagged crack along the length of the blade to just shy of the tip. The ember flickers and dims further, and the glow of the forge weakens. There is no more time. Shit! 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 She tears off her gloves and apron and dashes over to the shelf, reaching for the flames in the bottle. With shaking hands, she manages to pry the seal open and tips the ember into her palm. The little fire spirit within flows hungrily across her palm and up her arm. The fire spreads quickly, but there is no pain. The heat is unbearable, scorching and suffocating, but she does not feel it. Her eyes dance with the light of the ember, and she walks back over to the blade. She picks up the still red-hot blade in her bare hand. There is no pain. The fire dancing around her fingers and alive in her hair will not allow her to burn. She eyes the crack critically. It will have to do. She turns to the forge and plunges the blade into the thirstily awaiting bonfire within. The flames around her suddenly coalesce and rapidly travel along her arm, into the forge and the blade. A tortured scream of twisting metal cries out, and darkness falls. Slowly, a dim light begins to glow along the crack in the blade and its etched runes. She falls to her knees in front of the forge and takes a deep, shuddering breath. It is done.